Thomas Edison was born in rural Milan, Ohio, on February 11, 1847. As a young boy, Edison struggled in school, and due to his poor performance, his mother decided to take Thomas out of the school. Shortly after this, his family moved to Port Huron, Michigan, where he became a paper boy. Now this definitely doesn't sound like the story of a renowned inventor, scientist, and businessman, but nothing has seemed to facilitate achievement in America like humble beginnings. Edison's failure in school was actually due to deafness that he got from an early bout of scarlet fever. His deafness didn't actually hold Edison back. During his homeschooling, he picked up R.G. Parker's School of Natural Philosophy and the Cooper Union for the Advancement of Science and Art, as well as many other oddly advanced books for a 12-year-old. His appetite for knowledge and self-education would prove to be extremely important in his entrepreneurial phase. Once his family moved to Michigan, Edison asked his parents if he could sell papers along the Grand Trunk Railroad. His parents approved his request, and he began taking his first entrepreneurial adventure along the busy travelway. During his time on the railway, he was known for conducting science experiments in the vacant compartments of the train. Allegedly, one of his experiments went wrong, causing a small explosion in the boxcar, which resulted in the loss of his job. Edison still persisted and continued to sell papers and vegetables along the railway, until one day he saved a 3-year-old Jimmy Mackenzie from a runaway railroad engine. His father was a station agent in Huron, and was so grateful that he personally trained Edison as a telegraph operator along the Grand Trunk Railway. At 19, Edison moved to Louisville, Kentucky, where he worked the Associated Press newswire. He continued to experiment and developed his first patent, which was a modification of the current telegraph system, which could both be mass-produced and also function faster, allowing for better communication for trade, transportation, and politics. Although Edison was inventing since his teenage years, his actual career began in 1877, when he shocked the world with his invention, the phonograph. This allowed for the wealthy to listen to music off wax tapes that could only last a couple plays. Music like ragtime and European symphony could now be played without a full orchestra. This invention deemed Edison the title Wizard of Menlo Park, because Menlo Park was a small laboratory in New Jersey where he developed the phonograph, and he seemed to have a knack for mystifying creations. After his success, he was able to expand his laboratory into a full-fledged industrial research facility, which took up the whole second floor of his building. For the time, this workplace was revolutionary. Edison wished to have every element, feather, and rarity brought to his lab, so he could innovate at peak performance. In a time period where scientific methods were rarely appreciated, Edison managed to create a workplace that both preyed upon the ripe, unrestricted environment of the Gilded Age, while still progressing scientific research forward. The lab was designed to create manufacturable devices, and Edison proved this with the creation of the practical electric light bulb. Although he did not invent the light bulb itself, he modified it and made it efficient and suited to the demands of a growing urban nation. Edison was absolutely a fine inventor, but more than that, he was an ingenuitive businessman. For example, Thomas Edison's name is registered on over 1,000 patents, many of which increase the efficiency of America as a whole. Besides practical innovations, Edison is also credited with an addition to the movie camera, which stood as a foundation for early films in the 1900s, like any Charlie Chaplin films. The significance of his work is that it directly contributed to the growth of the nation as well as the living conditions of the rich and poor alike. His cultural inventions also allowed for the spread of American culture and propaganda during foreign conflicts. Thomas Edison grew up with little potential, money, and aspiration, but with hard work and a little reckless wit, managed to become a legendary inventor. His humble beginning is a perfect model for what the American dream can and should be like for young dreamers around the world. This is why he deserves a place on the APUSH Wall of Fame.